Today we're going to tie the Addams family. The Addams family is an excellent search pattern. It was originally tied to fish over the March Brown hatch on Fishing Creek in Columbia County, Pennsylvania. It did very well whether the hatch was on or off, and over the course of that fishing trip it just continued to bring fish up, whether there was a hatch present or not. It's an all-purpose fly for me. Obviously it has its lineage from the Addams. The original Addams was a downwing pattern, and this is as well. So let's see how you tie the Addams family. I start off with 8/0 black uni thread, or the thread of your choice, but I use black. Start the thread and wrap it to the back. And then I tie in, for the size, this is a 12 hook. I tie this pattern down to an 18 actually, and I tend to tie the tail in slightly heavier than you would expect. I use Cree. I tie the tail in approximately shank length. Wrap back, secure it, and bring the thread back forward. Now if I was tying in a little bit larger, at times I'll leave these stubs, but I tend to leave them just about as long as the thorax is going to be, a little longer, just to help level out. Okay. The dubbing that I use for this is a little bit different. It's Addams Gray Beaver, but it's got a little bit of antron in it. Just a slight bit of flash. Again, I use this somewhat as an attractor pattern. It works good during terrestrial season. It just seems to be buggy enough and have a good profile in the water. Doesn't have to actually have a hatch to match, from what I've found. Although it does do well, fairly well over the Hendrickson and the March Brown hatch. And bring the dubbing back to the tie-in point of the tail, and then bring a fairly slender abdomen back to the front. Alright, there's your abdomen. Now the wing, I have tied this in the past. I originally tied this using grizzly hen. However, I've acquired several nice Cree hen necks, and I've begun tying the wing as well with the Cree. I haven't really noticed any huge difference. The only difference is that now I get all the hackle for the pattern off of the same skin. I tie the wing where the tip extends just about to the middle of the tail. I don't trim it. I tie it in, just try and keep it from rotating. And I want it to splay up, so it's not laying down like a tent wing pattern of a caddis. It splays upward at about a 30-degree angle when it's tied in. Just about like that. You get a feel for it. I don't want it to be too tight down like a tent wing, because then you lose the impression, I think, on the water. You want those wings to be splayed out and give a good profile. And I tie in my hackle, which is again from the same Cree, but it's the neck. And I dub a thorax. I don't dub it real heavy, but I extend the dubbing fairly fine out to the head. It stands up the dry hackle fairly well. And again, stop your dubbing sort of where your head would rest. And then we're going to wind our hackle forward. I wind it fairly tight. You're not necessarily leaving any of the dubbing present. You don't have to. The dubbing is mainly there just to stand the hackle. You want a fairly heavy collar. And trim your hackle. And form your head. And whip finish. Okay. You're almost done with this pattern. Again, you get your hen tips splayed out behind. And then for this pattern, like many of my patterns, if you haven't noticed already, I do like to trim, not on all of them, but I trim a V-notch on the bottom. Not all the way up to the thorax, but about halfway. And that just gives this pattern a good profile in the water. This lays tight in the film, gives a very buggy looking impression in the film. I think it resembles a cripple more than anything. It's just too irresistible for the fish to let go, even if there's no pattern. It's just a great search pattern and a very productive fly for me. It's probably been in my box going on 10 or 12 years now, so I highly recommend it. Hope it adds to your box. That is the Adams family. Thank you.